To feel like not knowing something is inappropriate in this profession is silly. You're always gonna not know something. Get used to that feeling. I look at challenges as opportunities to become a better person or a better professional. There's gonna be some great learning coming out of it. And I think if you really apply that mindset to your life in every difficult situation, it becomes so much easier to manage because there's no losing.
My name is Ana Rebro. I'm the managing partner of Farnham & Company. So I graduated university and went to a Big Four to work in audit, to learn what I don't necessarily enjoy about Big Four or audit. And what I discovered at the time is that I like working in a smaller organization, that accounting isn't something I necessarily hate. I just wanted to be in an environment where I felt valued and where I could apply my skills a little bit better. So I gradually over time transitioned my career to a smaller firm, going from a mid-size to something even smaller, and now the perfect size firm that I'm at right now. And throughout this time also, I did a little bit of teaching here and there. I taught at the university that I graduated from. I taught at CPA Ontario. So I'm thrilled that now in my career, I get to combine my passion for academics, my passion for accounting, and my passion for entrepreneurship to bring it all together and live my dream every day.
What I look for when I look at a resume, not to say too much stability, but some stability. Like what concerns me a lot is when you see somebody jumping from job to job more than 3 times in the last, say, 4 years. It's concerning because it suggests that maybe there were performance issues, or maybe this tends to be a person who is inflexible and they can't really adapt to the environment that they're in. Obviously, I'm open to listening to sort of the backstory for every move, but it tends to be one of the things that jumps out at me most as a downside, as a potential negative. On the positive side of things, I love resumes that are out of the box. Somebody that has put some time into making their resume stand out from the rest, and what's important to us is a personality. I think accountants with personality absolutely exist. They're not a unicorn. I think there's plenty of us out there. And I think one of the ways to be able to showcase your personality and sort of stand out from the crowd is actually by having your resume look different than the rest. So talk about your passions, talk about what you're good at outside of work. Maybe in your blurb, instead of talking about how you did notice to readers, tax returns, and audits, say it differently. Say it with like you care. Say it like it was fun for you, assuming it actually was. It goes a long way because we do screen so many resumes. It's really hard to tell personalities apart from each other just by looking at the standard template. What's the best way to deal with gaps in your resume? Actually fill them inside the resume. There's nothing worse than me wondering and imagining in my head all the horrible things that likely happened. I had wonderful resumes of very strong candidates that did have gaps in them, and they said, well, after many years of working and sort of focusing in my career, I've made the decision to take 2 years to travel, meet wonderful people, and develop as a human being. I understood that this person values more than just their career. I understood that this person is well-traveled and adventurous, that fits our culture. I think getting in front of the issue and actually describing in the resume what really happened goes a really long way. It saves time and saves sort of the concern of the recruiter. And it also provides an opportunity to really highlight and showcase your skills and your personality and all of the different aspects of the person that you are, above and beyond just being an accountant. My favorite interview question to ask is if the candidate had their own accounting firm, what values would they hold most important? And the reason in my world it's a really important accounting question is because I hope to attract somebody entrepreneurial who views their role here as though they're running their own little accounting practice. They're not just some desk where you drop files and they sort of in the black box try to get the work done. I really want everybody to understand that the client list they're looking after is their client list. It's like their own mini practice that they're responsible for. And they have to have an entrepreneurial mindset and a desire to do it as though they're the ones putting their name on the report, on the financial statements, or on the deliverable to the client. That's really, really important to me. And then there's the typical stuff where you ask people about situations in the past where they applied their skills and how those skills furthered somebody's financial outcome. I really like to wing my interview questions. I really don't have a list that I show up with. It tends to be a conversation that's a bit more natural and free-flowing. And we do ask technical questions in our interview process. I find that it's really easy to talk about what a great accountant you are. But when faced with technical questions, I find that most people don't make it through. So my final screening process for a candidate that I already like and sort of can imagine here from a cultural fit standpoint is then a couple technical questions to make sure they can walk the talk. What advice would I give to international professionals looking to make a career in Canada? I think don't sell yourself short. I think I've spoken to a lot of candidates coming from abroad with years of experience, and they come to me to interview as a junior. And the comment they make is, well, I just need to get my foot in the door and sort of start from scratch. And to that I say, well, it's accounting. Accounting is accounting everywhere. Sure, there are intricacies in our tax laws, and even those are common sense based sometimes in Canada, but they're transferable and learnable. And to come in and say, well, I have 15 years of public accounting experience from abroad and I want to be a junior here now, is a disservice to the experience you do have. You really don't need to sell yourself that short. I think what would be even helpful to those individuals is to be honest with themselves about the shortcomings they have and the areas of learning that they can explore. My guess would be that taxation would be one of those for the most part, because like I said, accounting is accounting. And maybe then in advance of interviewing, doing a little bit of self-studying and looking at some courses that may be available, or making it completely transparent to the interviewer that, like, this is what I'm good at. This is not what I'm good at. This is what I would appreciate as far as your help goes. But I really don't think there's a need to come in and say, well, I know absolutely nothing. I'm only worthy of a junior title. I think they need to be able to stand up for themselves and ask for what they deserve. The advice I would give to recent accounting grads entering the public accounting profession is to be realistic about how hard it is and what transition it is from the academic life into a real world. Particularly when it comes to like your A and A+ students, where they felt like they succeeded daily and it was really easy for them. Although the skills are very much transferable, it takes a little while to really understand the expectations and to do the job right to the satisfaction of your supervisors. So don't be hard on yourself if you feel like it's taking a little while to learn. Don't be hard on yourself if you're getting a lot of review notes where you thought that you were an A+ student, you never got any issues with your assignments. It's a completely different world and nobody expects for you to be perfect. And the worst thing you could do to yourself is to drive yourself insane trying to be perfect. It's the ability to learn that really matters. It's not perfection from day one. So everybody understands that there's going to be a transition period from being a graduate to becoming a productive public accountant. In my experience, the hardest year of my profession was my first year. The easiest year was my second year. Because by then, people still don't expect the world from you, but you're not completely clueless. So it's that sweet spot where you can do just enough and impress people just enough without necessarily going above and beyond. That was my experience anyway. And from year 3 forward, all of a sudden, the level of responsibility continues to increase, the level of complexity continues to increase into infinity. Every day still, I learn something new. Every day still, I come across situations that are unfamiliar and I have to open a book or look something up online or ask my colleagues that have a different set of expertise. To feel like not knowing something is inappropriate in this profession is silly. You're always gonna not know something. Get used to that feeling. Honestly, I look at challenges as opportunities to become a better person or a better professional. So when I have a really difficult client meeting or where I have a really difficult conversation coming up, I actually psych myself up for it because there's gonna be some great learning coming out of it. And I think if you really apply that mindset to your life in every difficult situation, it becomes so much easier to manage because there's no losing. Right? Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? I learned something. And all of a sudden the pressure is off and all of a sudden the outcome doesn't matter. And in this profession that is so full of different things that happen, it's really helpful to get by. Okay, so here's what I know now that I wish I knew as a student graduating. because that's a big decision to make. Where am I going to work? What am I going to like? And you have no idea what you like because you've never tried anything. So my biggest regret today is that I didn't go into working at a mid-sized firm out of university. I find now, and forever will, that as far as the disciplines in accounting is a lot broader. You get to try tax, you get to try advisory, you get to work with entrepreneurs one-on-one and really feel like you're making an impact. As a base level of knowledge, I think there's no place better to learn accounting. And it doesn't almost matter what you're going to do with your career in the future. To set the building blocks, I think a mid-sized firm is the golden standard for learning, in my view. I think as far as career growth goes, like looking at technical hiccups and like learning accounting stuff happens every day, and you learn from your mistakes and you hopefully don't make them again. But as far as things that are career affecting and like make a big impact, it's all about people, and it's about learning how to understand their needs, how to further somebody else's career and your own at the same time. So things that were most impactful to me were disagreements actually with people in leadership. So let's say I was a staff accountant or a manager and did my disagreements with leadership teams of the places I was working at. And what I took from that are some best practices, I guess, of how to handle conflict, how to handle people and lead them. Basically a list of things I decided to never do as a leader and as a firm owner. We are in the people business. I don't think it's well understood in this profession in general. Public accounting is a people business. All we have to be successful are people. You have to treat them right, you have to treat them with respect, you have to understand that there are always two ways in an argument, and your way isn't necessarily always the right way. It's about having dialogue and communicating when something is tough. So I think leading up to my career today, it's those disagreements and my observations of how conflict could have been handled differently has really come a long way. I definitely believe in work-life balance, but not in the way that most people, I think, associate with work-life balance. So to me, work-life balance means loving your job. It's not necessarily working less hours. It's about having just as much fun at work as you would outside of work. Because then your day is just full of fun instead of dedicating your mind to being tortured for several hours a day and then finally taking your work hat off and going home for your balance. I really don't believe in that at all. I think I personally don't mind putting in the extra hours doing work that brings me joy. I personally don't mind logging in to my email on vacation because I really care that something gets delivered to my client on time. Does that consume all hours of my day? Absolutely not. I do believe in being able to turn off your brain and having passions outside of the office that are important. So I believe in physical fitness, I believe in family time, I believe in quality time. But I don't really believe in a rigid distinction between, well, here I am 9 to 5 and after 5 o'clock is my balance. I think somebody's satisfaction with their situation relies in part into how satisfied they are at work. Whether we like it or not, we need to dedicate a certain number of hours to working because we have bills to pay and responsibilities to uphold. And it tends to be statistically a significant number of hours. So to feel like your life overall is balanced sort of on a happiness scale, I think there's no choice but to feel joy at work and be with people that bring you joy. When you don't have that in your life, it's really difficult. Like if somebody were to step back and say, I overall don't feel optimally happy, and if their job is that place that brings them sort of that heavy feeling and sort of feeling of not belonging, well, if they fix that one thing, I bet you that they would feel overall a lot more satisfied with their life. So that's my take on work-life balance.